the horns. It's time to get to football season. It feels like the first day of school and maybe the first day of your freshman year of high school. Hi, everyone. I'm Camryn Irwin alongside J.V. Long and D'Marco Farr. And you're already shaking your head. Yeah.
I'm not taking off my sunglasses. It's training camp. It's hot outside. It's sunny. I look cool in them. Come on.
You're shaking your head. I got cold shakes from the first day of freshman year. That was not a good experience.
God.
That's not what this is at all.
I had a blast, though. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it is fun. You're back to football. You're seeing, people hitting each other. This is good. This is good. We're back. We're getting ready to track down another Super Bowl. This is fun.
There definitely have been first day of school vibes, especially with all the new faces around UC Irvine. But I thought yesterday in particular was more of like the best reunion you've ever had. Whether it's a school reunion or a family reunion, just like seeing all the people that you loved to work with and be around. It's that time of year, and hope springs eternal.
Well, everyone is wildly excited. There's no doubt about that for this 2023 season. Of course, this between – whoa, I'm already chucking things. I'm so excited.
I like it. Fumble. Jump on it.
Oh, man. We don't want any of those. But this Between the Horns episode is, of course, presented to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. And you guys mentioned it, the nerves, the anxiety, and it has been mentioned more often than not, especially by head coach Sean McVay, that – this camp is a little reminiscent of 2018, and I know that is a season to be remembered, but what have you noticed already, just the second day about to get underway here, in terms of the excitement, the anxiety, and what could take place?
This team is reminiscent of 2018. Where's Sue? Where's all that?
Or the vibe.
Hold on a minute.
So.
No, I mean, look, I've never been more excited to see Sean McVay coach a football team and craft a football team in his image. 2018, that team was loaded. That's a different sort of expectation. 2022, that team was absolutely loaded. There was an expectation there, so the excitement was different. This is going to be fun. We don't know who the stars are going to be.
Yeah.
We know you've got Kupp, you've got Stafford, you've got Donald. Outside of that, there's room for everyone to step up and become a star. So who is it? We don't know. I do know you have a bunch of good coaches waiting to coach them up and some pretty good talent on this roster. So this is exciting, getting to work, watching these young guys go about their business.
Here's what I think he meant by 2018. I think that had more to do with the spring and the offseason program and the amount of work they were able to get in at full speed then. This part of the year, training camp and the season ahead, to me is more reminiscent of 2017, Sean's first year. Because 2018 OTAs, when you go through it, like 17, they're installing a new system, right? Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, you're coaching up a quarterback who is coming off an 0-7 start to his rookie season. 2019, you're coming off a Super Bowl, so that's a short turn. You're not going full speed in the spring like they did. 2020 is the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then 2021, you're at the point where the roster is such that you don't really need to be full bore in May. So I think that's what Sean was driving at, is that the work that they've already put in to get ready for this training camp, practicing how to practice, that's what was reminiscent.
There's no doubt about that. And one of the other words that's been used time and time again is competition, as there is so much room for competition. And it feels like almost every position group. We have 40-plus new faces on the Los Angeles Rams heading into 2023 at this point. Now, with the competition taking place, who are some of those competitions in position groups that you're going to be looking most closely at?
Well, new faces, names. This is why I will never let go of this roster. I really.
That looks like it's a month old already.
I'm telling you, it's like you write notes, you start again. I mean, there's so many new guys, but I'll tell you the best way for me to remember your name is do something great.
Yeah.
Go out here and make some plays, make something happen. Even if it's you're 1,000 miles an hour in the wrong way and your coach yells your name with an expletive. Yeah. At least that gets me to remember your name. But I'm having so much fun watching this young secondary. I am. I mean, they are so much fun to watch. You can tell they have a passion to play and a passion to get better, and they have a coach in Aubrey Pleasant that's coaching them to be themselves, which is what I love. So I said this before. I think your next star for the LA Rams is coming out of that secondary.
There's like a really fine line to me between practicing to put yourself in the best position to win, which is what we've seen the Rams do a lot during the Sean McVay era, versus practicing as if each day is going to determine an outcome come September, right? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You felt that, too, in terms of what you're anticipating from this next month ahead. But if and when you come out to join us here at Rams camp, you're going to see two really popular T-shirts among the Rams players and staff members. Did you see all the wording on the backs of these T-shirts?
Yeah.
Two stood out to me. One is model the way, and that's something that Sean McVay has already said quite a bit. And that phrase to me applies to the coaches and to the veterans who already have a role in the National Football League and in this franchise. And then there's another one that reads mentally and physically tough players who play smart and love to compete. And that, to me, is directed at everyone else who's auditioning for a roster spot. And the more you can stitch those groups together and synthesize your team between now and kickoff in Seattle, I think the better off the Rams are going to be. Who those specific names are to watch, which was your question, and D'Marco and I are in mid-season form at not answering your specific question,
I was going to say, that was a strong
Camryn. Here's what I've written down so far. Puka Nacua at receiver, Trey Tomlinson at corner. What impacts winning and losing? What correlates with wins and losses in the National Football League in this era of football? Offensive and defensive pass efficiency. Those are two guys who I think can do it as rookies. Undrafted, here are a couple names that I've already circled. Kelechi Onyeabeci. I've seen him play before I've learned to pronounce his name. That's always a good sign. And guard Mike McAllister, two undrafted guys that I've got an eye on. And then I think you have to pay attention to Ahkello Witherspoon.
Yeah.
He's played in the league. He's played in the NFC West. He's at a position where the Rams have a ton of snaps to sort out.
Yep.
He's 28 years old, and he's 6'2", and nearly 200 pounds. And in that regard, he's the biggest corner next to Robert Rochelle. So when the Rams go through their offseason program and they bring in a veteran like that, to me it speaks to, all right, who's rolling with DK Metcalf in week 1?
Absolutely. You know what I love about DK Metcalf? Or what I love about our DK?
Kendrick.
You know what I love about him? He knows he's good. You know what else I hate about him? He knows he's good. But that's the guy I stick on DK Metcalf and say, have a day with that guy. Absolutely.
Maybe.
You mentioned Witherspoon, and actually to give a little bit more context in terms of the relevancy that he may bring this season, you mentioned the games he's played. He's had 60 games. By the way, he only played 4 last year as he's going into his 7th season. And there is one really relevant season that I think can give experience to that group, and that's the fact that he started as a rookie. He played 12 games his rookie season, including 9 starts. So you want to talk about veteran experience. He also has experience as a rookie getting out on the field, which we may have to see here for the Los Angeles Rams. I think that's very relevant.
You know, when you get that start and you get some experience, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, when you make your first start, some of these guys, we're going to see, your next start is going to be your first start. So there's a lot of nerves leading up to that, and then there's life after your first start. Oh, I can do this. Oh, this is easy. I've been ready for this my entire life. But when you get a guy that's already had snaps and he's gotten through that and he's into that I'm getting better phase, you might have caught a diamond in the rough. So, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of snaps to sort out. One of these guys is going to take advantage of it.
What can instill confidence? You just used that word, and I think one of the biggest elements is don't forget who we are at our core. We have the big names. We've got AD. We have Matthew Stafford. We have Cooper Kupp. We are still the Los Angeles Rams from a standpoint. We have big veteran pieces that are leading the way. It's interesting as you look, obviously, with Aaron Donald, the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 9-time Pro Bowler. You got Cooper Kupp. Take a look at this number for him. 2nd most receptions since 2019, and he missed 8 games last season alone. I mean, this is a group that can lead a young rookie core. What do you want to see from that veteran group as in terms of communication here at training camp?
Well, number one, we said this in OTAs. Matthew Stafford looks terrific. Yeah. He really does. He looks like he took care of himself. He's ready to go. I mean, from top to bottom. So that's number one. Seeing Cooper Kupp lead receiver drills, smooth like butter.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely smooth like butter. So watching him, and you said lead the way, model the way. Well, the first guy that came to mind was Cooper Kupp, and then Aaron Donald. You know, what sort of shape was he going to be in at 32? Well, guess what? He looks like he did at 22. Same thing. He might even look better right now. A little bit older in the face, but his body looks great. So, and watching him go about his business. Look, it's still about Cooper Kupp moving the ball down the field. That is his football team. That's the offense. On defense, it's about Aaron Donald and matchups. So how do you line up with other people whenever you move Aaron? So there's competition for jobs, but those stars that are going to model the way all look like they're ready to lead the way.
I love Pro Football Focus dearly. And when I read that they have the Rams roster ranked 31 out of 32 teams or whatever it was, and just about everything else in that space that we've all ingested over the course of the last couple of months, I relish that. The more of that, the better this time of year. I sincerely believe that. But where I'm going with this is if you asked all 31 other coaches, hey, who would like to trade places with Sean? Who would like to have Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald and take their chances with the other 50 players on their roster? It wouldn't be universal, but there would be hands up in that room. And so that's where I think Sean was asked, like, how do you feel about the Vegas line being 6.5 wins? And in the back of his mind, he's got to be thinking, like, is that before or after I go on paternity leave?
I like it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, wake up, put that in the blender, and inject it directly into my veins.
Yes,
here
sir.
In late July.
Well, we talked about Matthew Stafford. I think one of the interesting nuggets, I was doing some research. There are only 4 remaining Super Bowl champion quarterbacks playing in the league at this point. You have Matthew Stafford, obviously Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, now with a different team, as well as Aaron Rodgers. Only one of those Super Bowl quarterbacks exists in the NFC, and that's Matthew Stafford.
Wow. That's really cool, except that Mahomes is 27.
Yep.
And, he's going to be doing this for a while. But, look, Matthew Stafford, is there anyone on this team that gets disrespected more than him? And it's a subtle disrespect. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of discount. Or when you say Matthew Stafford might have a good case for the Hall of Fame, the people that immediately shoot you down are the ones that drive me nuts. I'm like, have you really looked at his career? And he's got the cherry on top with the ring. So there's a lot left for him to prove. I guess there's some doubters that you have to win over. But as far as arm talent, one of the best we've ever seen. As far as being a quarterback, one of the best that's ever played this game. And you've got him here. So when you talk about the roster being ranked 31 out of 32, it's not all bad when your best guy happens to be your quarterback. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. When you have a chance to buy a blue chip stock at a 30% discount, you snap it up. And that's where I feel like I am right now with the McVay-Stafford partnership. We've been doing this exercise quite a bit this offseason, but I think it's pertinent again now that we know, okay, what do the starting quarterbacks actually look like in the NFC going into training camp?
Yeah.
And I mean this in all sincerity. How many would you seriously prefer to McVay-Stafford? I think it's a pretty short list that you can even have the conversation about.
Go ahead, yeah.
Recency bias being what it is, Sirianni, Hurts, Eagles, I get it.
Okay.
But if you're talking about this year only and comparing resume, I'll leave that for what it is. Shanahan and Purdy, now that we know that Purdy's reporting to...
Okay. No.
Maybe.
No.
Only because of the head-to-head success that the 49ers have had. But, like...
I'm being honest. I'll pass. Go ahead. Yeah.
Purdy has not met Aaron Donald yet. Okay?
Right.
So I'll withhold judgment on that one for now.
True.
Dallas, I'm a believer in Dallas this year. I think this could be Dallas's year. McCarthy's got a ring. Dak's got 2 Pro Bowls. I think that's a fair conversation.
I'll take McVay over McCarthy.
Detroit, Campbell, and Goff is interesting, but I think we know where Rams Nation falls on that. And then Seattle's the other one.
Yeah. Gino and Carroll.
Carroll's the only NFC coach with more tenure in his current post than Sean McVay, even though Sean's still the youngest coach in the league. That's quite a paradox. And Geno Smith, hey, they said, we believe in you. They said, we're going to move forward. We're not going to draft a quarterback in the first round. So the great thing about those teams that I mentioned, and feel free to chime in the comments if you think anyone else warrants conversation there, but 4 out of those 5 teams, Eagles, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks, are on the Rams schedule before Halloween.
How long do you think it would take Pete Carroll to talk his way out of that question? Would you want to swap quarterbacks? I'd say about an hour. It'd be great. But it'd be an hour, and he'd land on his guy. Right, yeah.
He might draft another running back.
I was going to say, there's still something to be said about belief. But another interesting note just in regards to this, because I love the ranking, but it's also a weird year in the NFL from my perspective. Take a look at this number. To start the season this year, only 18 teams will have the ability to have the same starting QB under the same head coach. That's only 56% of the league.
Wow.
And it's a different kind of continuity here, right? Like, we were all thrilled when Matthew Stafford makes his first appearance in Irvine at this training camp. Like, we all felt the difference at quarterback. But he's still learning Sean, his verbiage, his system. They were still meshing their partnership together. And then they were deprived of that opportunity this time last year because Stafford is doing arm exercises with weight balls and towels instead of ripping lasers around this field, right? So
True.
I think their fullest potential is still out there. I think what they were able to accomplish in that playoff and Super Bowl run, albeit with Odell Beckham Jr., is still in front of them. I really do. I think their best days are still ahead of them.
I think your now is fine. But like you said, 18, and there's a bunch of young new quarterbacks, right? Which means you better get your future settled too. But your now is good. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get our focus right back here.
Yeah, we got to
the
keep
Rams
moving. We only
camp.
have 20 minutes.
I know. We've been told 20. I don't know where we're at. I just stopped looking over to see where we're at on the clock so we can keep talking.
Is that what the lawnmower was doing? Was the lawnmower trying to tell us to stop talking?
Our boss, Jory's like, hey, no one is going to stick around for 45 minutes of this. I'm like, Jory.
Are you kidding me?
I have a document called 2023 Rams offseason notes, and it's 38 pages long.
Thank you.
You're going to have to wrap me on this show.
Well, I've got another fun one for you. A question in regards to training camp this season. Which group, and I'll name them for you, which group do you feel will have the biggest impact this year? And I'm not going position group. I'm actually going to give you, it can either be by class, by position group, or by coaching staff. Those are your options.
Okay, when we did the numbers, the number I came up with, this is funny, 2G for number 3. Do you guys think it's possible for Cam Akers to become a 2,000-yard running back? Not just rushing yards. I'm talking rushing and receiving. Do you think that's possible? Because I talked to him on the way off. He looks different
this year, doesn't he?
His body type is different. His neck is wider. He looks like he's getting ready. The one thing about him, if he just stays on the field, he's over 1,000 last year. I'm convinced of it, and he's on his way. So his thing is availability. So my first thought is running back. But if he cannot, it dawned on me yesterday watching Cooper Kupp go about his business. He is going to eat no matter what. But Van Jefferson is that lost art of the number 2 guy.
Happy birthday, Van, by the way.
Big time. The Alvin Harper, the John Taylors of the world, the John Stallworths, the guy opposite the guy that's making you pay for too much attention on the one guy over here. So if I can't get 2 out of Cam, can I get 1,000 out of Van? Backing up or being the number 2 to Cooper Kupp.
You want to take the tight ends too and just say the skill group
I'm
all
just
together?
saying, just those 2 guys.
I
was watching him, watching them, watching them.
Wider circles.
I'm just saying, 2 dudes.
You had 3 choices.
1, 2, 3, 12 and 3. There's my guy.
I will go with the sophomore class, and this is where I left off with Sean McVay after mandatory minicamp in the spring, because I think it's really hard for rookies to impact wins and losses in this league, especially if you're a rookie who wasn't drafted in the first round. But these year 2 guys, now they've been through it. They've had a full offseason program, McVay on offense, Raheem Morris on defense, there's system continuity. And so can Avila start? Yeah, I think he will. Yeah. Can Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Nick Hampton, Puka Trey, can they be regulars? Yeah, I think they'll be part of the rotation. But for me, whether or not the Rams are playing meaningful football in December and January comes down to, like, hey, Logan Bruss, can you be the plug-and-play guard that we thought you were going to be a couple draft classes ago? Kobe Durant, can you lead the NFL in return yardage again? That's like our favorite statistic. Kyron Williams, are you prepared to say, Sony, good to see you, but I got this? Like, to me, that's the difference between, 10 and 7 or 8 and 9.
Yeah.
I'll go further. Quentin Lake, Russ Yeast, are you going to be adequate replacements or even upgrades from Rapp and Scott in the back end?
Yes.
And you said Darion Kendrick. I think that's a good one, too. DK, if you play at SoFi Stadium like you play in Irvine and Thousand Oaks, we might have something.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you might get suspended.
Those year 2 guys, to me, are the difference between the Rams and 23 contending or not.
100%. Steven Avila. I want Avila. That guy is a mile wide, and his face looks like a hammer. You know what I mean? So as long as I can keep him coming forward and wear down a defense, I will do it. So, Logan Bruss, I hope you find a spot. But I think it's imperative they get Avila ready to play now.
And I'm not saying all those guys I just rattled off are going to hit. Someone outside that list might hit. But if you get a solid concentration of that group coming back for their second campaign that are saying, I'm going to be a professional, I'm going to be here for a while, beyond my first contract even, so much the better for the Rams.
So I just want to clarify, you both chose class.
Yeah.
You went position group.
I don't know.
I went 2 guys.
You went 2 guys.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Well, now let's take a little bit of a step further, because JB Long also loves to kind of help out and produce this show. And one of the things he really wanted to talk about.
It's very euphemistic of you, Camryn. Nicely played.
Really wanted to talk about some numbers that matter. So, JB, what numbers matter to you in 2023?
You just wait until we get in the tarot card reading portion of the program where you ask us to look into our crystal ball. I'll get you back. But yeah, I wanted to play this game. I got 2 numbers, D'Marco, and you picked something out, or did you burn yours already?
No, go ahead. I got one for you. Yeah.
Okay, my first one is 45.
What's 45?
45.
Bobby Wagner?
Nope.
He's gone. Yeah.
I see you.
Okay.
45. Give me 45 games played in the regular season by your load-bearing walls. AD, Stafford, Kupp.
Wow. 45.
That trio misses no more than, say, 6 starts collectively. I think the Rams are playing beyond the regular season.
You mean none for Stafford? Stafford doesn't miss starts.
Look, I'm not going to tell you how you rearrange those, but
it's just 45 in general.
If your dudes, who we've already talked at length about, are there for the bulk of the 17, I think this group has something. The other one is 9, or maybe 9.5 if you want to get technical. That's how many wins Sean McVay needs to match Chuck Knox for second all-time in franchise history.
No way. Wow.
9 wins.
Chuck Knox. Oh, my gosh.
Or he could just rip off 15-2 and go for John Robinson here in 2023.
I see you. Okay. Yeah, Chuck Knox was the scariest coach I've ever had in my life. But now that's, I would hope I'll give Matthew Stafford the 1 week off towards the end of the year, I hope. Cooper Kupp, I need healthy all 17 weeks. I know you're going to tell Aaron he's going to miss a couple games? Go ahead.
I'm just saying because of the way last year finished for each of those men, that my hope for them and by extension the franchise is that they're playing more often than not. And if they are, I think people will look back and say we underestimated the Rams.
Well, I agree 100%. Keeping Stafford upright, and it goes back to number 3. It goes back to Cam Akers for me. And a lot of talk about running backs.
Wait, is 3 your number?
3 is my number. Yeah, I told you, it's 2G for number 3. And a lot of talk about running backs.
$2,000 for number 3.
Yes,
I got it now.
And he wasn't on that call.
Time.
And we all talk about devaluing running backs and what we're not paying them, but no one ever says they're not important to winning. So what would solve a lot on this football team, even when you're young, is a solid running game, a Dalvin Cook type season out of Cam Akers, where it's all about you. And I've seen it with Steven Jackson. It was all about him on Sunday. They just didn't have the pieces around. So imagine a bell cow running back that takes over 300 carries and is pacing this football team with Kupp, with Matthew Stafford. Tell me you can't be successful if you're Sean McVay.
It reminds me of Sony Michel in 21, right? I mean, especially in the month of December, he was somebody that came in, and Sean even said it this week. It was someone that maybe didn't get as much attention as he deserved, but he was a huge piece of their success in 21.
Are you going to bring a number, or you just want to play fortune teller?
If I'm going to play fortune teller. Okay. No. I've got some numbers because I went full nerd mode yesterday. I love it, but I'm also a little embarrassed. But
you live there. Let's be serious.
I do live there.
Yeah.
There's no joke about that. But I was thinking back to a conversation I had with Andrew Whitworth on the sidelines last season. And one of the things he was telling me about this team is that he said, we're predicated on big plays. And I was thinking to myself, okay, how do you define big plays? So did a little digging, and I thought, okay, 16 yards in the passing play.
Plus 16.
Plus 16 and 12 on any rushing play. So that's where I started on the offensive side. I also thought, well, defensively, what are your big plays? So obviously forced turnovers, you got forced fumbles, interceptions, and I use sacks.
She's going to be doing trigonometry.
I am. I'm going to keep it simple here. So to dial it down, just to give you some thoughts, approximately in 2022, there were 70 16-plus yard passing plays throughout the regular season. There were 20 12-yard rushing plays and 65 defensive big plays, we'll call it. So 70, 20, and 65 is your number to compare to the Super Bowl run.
Oh, boy.
In 2021. It's actually very interesting. 100 16-yard passing plays, 30 12-yard plus rushing plays, and 85. So the numbers are really interesting. I think if we hit that 70, 20, 65 this year, or maybe bump just above that, to me, I'm thinking, well, that means we're making big plays, something the Los Angeles Rams are predicated on.
So you want to be more explosive. DeMarco wants to kick it back to Steven Jackson.
Yep.
Hammer the
rock.
rock.
We're going different directions.
It would just solve all for right now. Yeah.
It was interesting, though, honestly, to go back and look at each one of our weeks, because I actually went and watched I went through all the play-by-play of it. And traditionally,
of every
there
game
was
last season?
The last two.
JB, go ahead.
But it's really interesting. On average, it was about 5 through the air per game through the season of 21, and it was 1, just over 1 on the rushing side of the game.
Wow. See? Rushing yards. Right back to it.
But there was only one big, but there was one big explosive play.
Yes,
it was really interesting. So anyways, those are my numbers. 70, 20, 65. All right, one last thing. We're going to go fortune teller here. Crazy storylines and headlines came last year, some that we might not have expected. Like, for instance, Baker Mayfield comes off bench, wins debut in 98-yard drive.
You didn't see that one coming.
Did not see that one coming. So give me one headline we may not see coming.
No, you give us
season.
one. You go first.
May not see coming.
I'm going to look. He's already taken.
You want to go last?
I'll go last.
Wow. No. Wait, you got to go first now. Hold on. Let me think. Headline I didn't see coming.
Forecasting one for this season.
Cam Akers sets the running back market in 2024. Yeah, how about that?
Whoa.
Yeah.
You really are locked in.
I'm just saying. Look out now. It's football. Come on, it's not that hard.
I wrote mine down in the hotel this morning.
Okay.
Had to. Okay,
Is
ready?
it that long?
It's this long. A game up on the NFC West and having already defeated Seattle and San Francisco head-to-head. The Rams trade a first-round pick for a proven pass rusher to cap a whirlwind week in which the McVays welcomed their first child into the world, and Sean chartered an overnight flight to Dallas to orchestrate a win over the Cowboys that takes the resurgent Rams to 6-2 at the trade deadline. As they turn their attention now to a Week 9 trip to Lambeau Field and a collision with the Packers that the NFL wisely flexed into primetime based on LA's surprising early season success. Forecasted temperatures in Green Bay, 62 degrees at kickoff, unseasonably warm for the first weekend in November.
I'm literally
I'm there.
speechless.
I'm right there with you. I just lived
no
the whole
way
life. Wow.
I can improve upon that headline.
What part of that doesn't check out for you?
Wow. All of it. Wow. I just lived there. My goodness.
Head of the Los Angeles Times right there.
That's part
it.
one.
That's
Stay tuned for our next edition of Between the Horns.
There's no way I can level up from that. So I'm just going to leave it right there. That's
Come
a beautiful
on.
headline. JB, I had nothing to compare to that.
I gave you a chance to go first.
There you go.
That is true.
Wow.
Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us here on Between the Horns, of course, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. We can't wait to see you the rest of the week.
I could feel the weather when you said that. Wow. Like I got cold.